This video is going to cover triad chord practice in the key of C. So I had someone ask me, what's a good way to practice your triad chords? And they said they already have an understanding of what triad chords are, but wanted an idea of how to practice them. So I'm going to start with key of C, just the same way I do with all my in-person students. And first thing you're going to do is learn what the triad chords are in order, starting on the E string. So we're just doing 3 notes. We're just going to use the root, third, and fifth. And if any of you have no idea what I'm talking about, I do plan on making theory videos in the future and a whole lesson package as well, which is really going to cover in pretty great detail of what chord theory is. So I don't have it out yet, but if somebody asks me to do something soon, I'll do what I can to start getting something out before the big project is done. So anyway, so just follow the tab on the screen, and I'm going to go through your triad chords in the key of C. So you only have major, minor, and 1 diminished. Augmented doesn't fall into the key of C, so we're not going to have an augmented chord being shown here. But here we go with the first set of chords. Now the second set of chords, root note will be on the A string. Third set of chords will start on the D string for the root note. And the fourth set of chords will start on the G string for the root note. So that's the first step. Get comfortable playing those chord shapes one after the next in key. And it's also important to pay attention to the shapes when you're doing this. So notice how every time you're playing a major triad, starting on the E and the A string, you're left with the same fingering. Now, the only kind of exception is if you're playing with an open string, but it's still the same thing. Just basically like if you had, this nut was a fret, you'd be holding it the same way. But when you go to like the D and the G string for the root notes, because of the way the guitar is tuned, yeah, you will have a different look to the shape. But just understanding that that is always a major triad when you're starting on the D string. Anywhere you move it's a major triad. Anywhere you move that shape when starting on the G string is a major triad. So understanding the difference between the shapes and how they're all movable is very, very beneficial, very helpful. So after that, I'm not going to have the next set of examples tabbed out because it would defeat the purpose of the exercise, but this is what I have students do who I work with in person. You're going to have 8 chord progressions, and they are chord progression by number. So if you notice on the examples that I just did on the tab, you have Roman numerals underneath all of those chords. So you have 7 chords and you have 7 Roman numerals. The 1, 4, and 5 are in capital letters because those represent the major chords. 2, 3, and 6, those are lowercase letters because they represent the minor chords. The diminished is also in lowercase because it's more closely related to a minor chord than a major chord. So if you're unfamiliar with the chord progression by number system, check out the video description for a link that takes you to a lesson talking all about the number progression system. So what you're going to do what I have all my students do to really get familiar with these is you're going to follow one progression at a time. So the first progression being a 1-4-5-4 with a repeat, you're going to do this all on the first set of chords. So what you're going to do is use the tab in the description of this video. So you're going to be taken to a lesson that has a lot more information, or a lot more examples, I should say. So anyway, so the 1-4-5. So you notice that the first chord is the C chord, and then you go to the 4 chord, which is the F. Then you go to the 5 chord. Now you could technically go just up to here, but I want you to get used to playing it as it's tabbed out. It'll help you get more familiar with it, because most likely if you're going to play a G triad starting on the E string, you're going to be playing down here instead of up here. So anyway, that was a nice sound, huh? Anyway, so each chord being played 4 times, you would do this. And that's it. So you're going to stick with that until you can play the progression smoothly. No hesitation between chord to chord. And then what you do is you move on to the next progression, which is a 2-3, sorry, not a 2-3, a 6-2-3-2. So the 6-2-3-2 would be this. I'll do one more example. So the next progression is the, what is that? The 1-5-6-4. So the 1-5-6-4, you have this. So again, I'm not putting the tab up for those previous examples because I believe it will defeat the purpose of the exercise. The exercise is to help you get familiar with where the different positions are just by looking at the number progression system. So again, check out the video description for a link to a blog lesson on this, which is going to have all the progressions and all the tab and whatnot you need for that. And you can save the images and print them out so you can have them on paper right in front of you, because it might be fairly difficult looking at it on the computer screen and trying to like scroll up and down and stuff. So print them out. So after you've done all 8 chord progressions where you're staying on the first group of chords, where you're starting everything on the E string, then you're going to go to the A string and do the same thing, all 8 progressions starting on the A string. So just real quick example, first one, the 1-4-5-4. All 8 progressions like that, and then you move on to the D string for the root notes. Same thing. And hit all 8 progressions like that, then move up to the G string and hit all those chords. So one thing I always stress to students is it's not important to memorize all those progressions. What is important is to just become comfortable shifting from one chord to the next. And when I have students, like I print them out this stuff, I'll just have them like mark off which chord progression they do. So once you hit progression number 1, after the first group of chords, you just next to the group of chords, you just write a 1. And then once you hit the second progression, write 2. So this way you can keep track of how far you've gone. So I have had some students, they're like way overthink it. They keep thinking they have to have everything like beyond. I mean, it's just like some people that play chord progressions fine, and they think they have to make it even better and better and better. It's just like, no, just play it smoothly with the repeat one time and you're good. That's all you really have to do. You don't have to be able to do it 10 times in a row 100% perfect. Some guys will try and do that 10 times, 20 times or more. And you know, the more you do something like that, the harder it is to keep doing it, because you hit that diminished returns thing. Your brain starts to get burnt out and get sick of doing the same thing over and over again. So just do yourself a favor, hit it once, move on. So once you've completed that, then it's time to start putting those triad shapes in a more practical place. Instead of jumping left to right all over the place and making these big jumps, now you're going to play everything all in the same area. So back to the 1-4-5-4 progression, that first one. Now I will show tabs on the screen for the way I approach putting these in a more practical playing position. So I'm going to demonstrate the first 3 chord progressions, and the exercise, what it does is you start on the E string. So you start with the C chord here, and then you run through the progression, and then you're going to use the C chord shape over here, starting on the A string, run through the progression, and then you go to the one starting on the D string, run through the progression, and then finish by starting on the G string. So this way you get to see how these triad shapes come together in various places throughout the fretboard. So this way you get a lot of examples on how to approach these things. So let's just get into it. So that covers the first 3 chord progressions played, each one of those in 4 different positions on the fretboard. So once you have completed all 8 progressions all over the place, you are welcome to put your own chord progressions together. If you go to the website random.org, you can randomize or randomly pick any group of numbers that you want. So if you just put in 1 and 7 as your starting number and your finish number, and just you just hit your generate button, I think that's what it is, then you can just put together your own progressions. It doesn't have to be just 4 chords. It could be any number of chords that you want. You can have 10, 20 different chords that you can go through. So you can make up your own or come up with your own that way if you're having trouble coming up with progressions that you like. So I think that about sums it up there, but this does not cover inversions or voicings. So when you start playing with inversions or voicings, then you have a lot more stuff that you can do with these triad shapes. And what most people do when they learn triad chords are your basic open chords. So usually people are going to be playing a C chord like this. They'll play the F chord like this. They'll play the G chord like this. So you are certainly welcome to do the same chord progressions with those chords. You get your 1, 4, 5, 4, and so on. So you are absolutely welcome to do it that way. You can practice doing the bar chords like this. 1, 4, 5, 4. Practice them over here. 1, 4, 5, 4. Or you do a combination of them. 1, 4, 5, 4, and so on. So there's a ton of ways to approach this. So hopefully this is enough to get you guys started. And the other cool thing about this is you can use these for like arpeggio practice. So maybe instead of strumming the chords like this, you could do something like this for the 1, 4, 5. Kind of mix it up, have a bit of fun with it. So if you like what was in this video, I'd greatly appreciate the thumbs up. And I know this was a lot of information, so if you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I'm happy to help out with this. And thank you very much for watching.